executed. So technically what is happening here is that it will first check whether it has been installed or not. If not, then it will install it in the registry. That is the first part of it. Once that thing has been done, it is going to execute a backdoor part of it. Now again, port number 2 might A. What is the actual port number? How do you get the actual port number? Okay, now let's check. It's working or not. I'm just going to run it. It's running. Now I'm going to do is I'm going to simply telnet into my own system and port number 66666 and check if it is working or not. Yes, it's working, right? So I've got the entire background. So this is the basic, this is a very basic malware of which we did an analysis. Now obviously the first part of it which was done is I think corrupted. It might be corrupted, that's the reason why it is not working normally. But then the second part is that code.exe, which is a backdoor, is working fine. Now how is the backdoor working? We will first check whether it is being installed or not in the auto run feature. If it's not, it will install it and then it will run a distributor. So basically what is happening is that earlier Diablo.exe is a container which contains two exes, cat.exe and explorer.exe, okay, which is packed using UPX. So first of all you have to unpack it and dump it. Once that thing has been done, it is going to create cat.exe, explorer.exe. Now is it installing these exes with your auto run feature? Is the Diablo.exe responsible for the auto start of these two exes?
Yeah, it is.
No. Who is taking care of the auto run part?
System?
The applications itself.
Yeah.
Explorer.exe itself is checking whether it has been installed with the auto run feature or not, and if it's not, it is doing it. Okay? So who is taking care of the auto start part? The application itself. The Diablo.exe is nothing more than a container which contains two exes. Again, at least as far as I know, Explorer.exe is unpacked, which is a backdoor, which is receiving a port number 666. Now, how will I get a signature for this? I have to select a byte pattern which is unique to only this particular exe, this particular application, and then embed it inside my API. So this is a very basic example of malware analysis. Okay, and this is how we can find out how to write a fix for it. How do you fix this exe? Or if you are infected with this malware, how will you fix it?
We log the port and it's set to be
delete the registry.
first you get
Or remove the registry. That will disable the backend. And delete the file from cat.exe and csvo.exe. That's it.
No, we have to delete the container also.
Yes, the other is. That's it. So if you are infected with this particular application or with this particular malware, how will you write it? You can actually code a fix in C or C++. Even a bash file will do.
Yeah.
So this is how you do a basic malware analysis.
So, what pattern we are going to match for this thing?
That will depend. You'll have to look for it. You'll have to look for a unique byte pattern, which is something that only antivirus researchers can do. Because they already have a list of all the byte patterns, unique string patterns for each and every device. So you have to find a unique string pattern inside this exe which doesn't conflict with any other exe.
So it means if antiviruses are only going to look for a very unique pattern, then if we are going to change some part, maybe because it is happening in many ways, right? We are having two files and they are getting executed. Any part of that changes, antivirus cannot detect it.
Yes. That's why even if a single byte in the byte sequence change, the antivirus won't be able to detect it. Okay. Alright. So,
what generally antiviruses look for in the patterns?
usually antivirus, see, let's say that I create the malware. So what I do is I embed my name as a string inside the malware. I might. Earlier, Paxos used to create malware. For example, school kids or college kids and these fellows like this, they used to create members just for fun, just to screw someone else's happiness. So what they used to do is that they used to enter their own name as a string. Some string variable defined without being referenced anywhere. Now in this case, I'm seeing a message box pop up, which contains a string something like folder CURRUPD. Can I use this as a pattern? Okay.
But that would be a very weak form of pattern.
Yes, it might be a very weak form of it, but that will depend. Okay, any questions and answers? Any questions?
Suppose.
See, when you are doing a memory breakpoint, what is happening is that that particular part of the code is replaced with the CC pipe, which turns out to be an 83. So during execution, when 83 is executed, there is an exception which in turn will pass the control to the DBG or the debugger that is under whose context the application is being run. At the same time, when implementing a hardware-based breakpoint, there are certain hardware-based registers which are used to set breakpoints at different locations inside the memory, which are employed. Yes.
But what's the difference then? And where should we use them?
See, you use memory breakpoints, it depends again on where you want to use it. For example, if I have something known as hardware on execution. Hardware on execution is a breakpoint that is set by the hardware itself if a particular memory address is being executed. If the content of that particular memory address is being executed. So this is an instance where you can rely upon hardware-based breakpoints. Again, the number of hardware-based breakpoints is limited. It might be like 4 or 5. Can I execute more than that? Can I implement more than that? No. At the same time, the number of software-based breakpoints is not limited.
Suppose we can't unpack the file, then how should we proceed in that case? Because if it is unknown packer.
Yes. Now, I only dumped the actual file. Did I analyze it using MongoDB? Again, no. I was still working with the original application itself. Okay. There's no need to actually dump the original exe on the hard disk. You can actually run. See, somewhere down the line, the code has to be unpacked in the memory and then just be executed. So if you have the patience to do a single step of the entire code until you reach the OEP, it's possible.
No, but how then antiviruses do that? You say that they can, when the virus gets unpacked into the memory,
yes,
they can just snatch it up and do that.
Okay, how much time does it take for an application to unpack itself?
Very less time.
Very less. So what if I start up an application, wait for 2 seconds or 3 seconds, by that time it has to be unpacked in the memory?
Yeah.
After that, what if I do a byte pattern matching, signature pattern matching analysis of the entire memory, then what? I should get it.
Yeah. So we can also do that. What if it's an unknown packet, then we have to proceed in this way.
Yeah, you can do that.
We need to dump the memory and
Yeah.
all this.
Otherwise, what you can do is you can just run the exe, which is a very dangerous thing, because you don't know how it is going to work, what it is going to do. You are just simply running the exe, and then we are going to do a byte pattern or sequence pattern matching of the RAM. Run the exe, dump the entire memory range onto your hard disk, and do a signature display.
And what about the polymorphic and metamorphic codes? How to analyze that part?
It will depend on it. See, no matter what is happening, the decryption stuff has to remain the same. Maybe even in metamorphic code, the decryption stuff might be a bit different. But somewhere down the line, there has to be a particular sequence of string which, when unpacked, should still look the same. For example, if I want to open a socket, the parameters have to be pushed in the right order. The port numbers have to be fixed. So based on that, I can create a byte pattern which might contain certain bytes which are different. But still, if the rest of the pattern matches, it's fine.
But when the code is changing every time, how the pattern will be matched?
See, the code, okay, I'll explain. In polymorphic code, what is happening is that only the key is changing.
Correct.
The actual code still remains the same. At the same time, in a metamorphic application, the code might change with a little bit of garbage code being added. Now, the engine which does this metamorphosis, or metamorphic engine, is again pre-coded. We can get the code of the engine. Based on the engine, we can analyze or understand how garbage values are being entered. So based on that, you can create a string pattern. Some of the bytes might differ, but I can do, see, instead of, let's say I have a sequence of 15 bytes, out of which the first 3 are always going to remain the same. And I know that the next 3 strings might be garbage values, so I can simply replace it with a question mark. It doesn't matter what they are, but if the rest of the string pattern matches, it's still the same bytes. Anything else?
What about malwares on the VMware? They detect themselves that it's running on the VMware and all.
There are different ways of doing that. For example, if I'm not wrong, if you even, there are ways of actually doing that. For example,
I've seen that on the
MAC
task
address.
manager.
One of the best ways of doing that is using the MAC address. If you just try to access the MAC address of the hardware for VMware devices, which is something that is unique. Something like that. So based on the MAC address, also you can identify whether you are being run under the context of VMware or the actual machine.
Any other way of doing that?
Which one? Identify VMware?
Yeah. There's some process running for VMware or something like that.
No, VMware is the actual entire OS. The only difference that might be there might be the hardware things that are attached to it.
So only difference we can. MAC address is one example. There are other ways to do
Others I don't remember, but I know that MAC address is one of the ways of doing that.
How if I set the malware contain the anti-debugger techniques?
Okay, now in that case what you need to do is you have to wait for it. See, anti-debugging techniques is what where you cannot debug it actively.
Okay.
It is piece of code which has to be executed. For example, is debugger present API? If it is hit, based on the return value that you get, whether it's 0 or non-zero, you can determine whether you are being run out of the context of any debugger or not. So what if you modify that API call?
Okay.
You can do that, right? If you're doing a single stepping, you can actually modify all the anti-debugging techniques.
Okay.
Anything else?
Can I check again that when you bypass the VPX thing, please? What are the steps?
Yeah, it's simple actually.
There is also one, actually, is it possible that a metamorphic code overrides its own code
Yes.
with the same logic? I am having a while loop, I am changing it to for loop
Okay.
or something like that and inserting some garbage value, garbage statement like that. So,
That is how it works normally, right?
yeah,
That is how it normally works.
yeah, means in that case pattern matching will be again difficult, no?
See, pattern matching will depend upon the metamorphic engine. Every engine is unique. So based on the engine, you have to come up with a pattern string.
Okay.
If I just take a look at the moment of the share, it's still banned VPS. Okay. So how will you try to unpack it? F8 once. Only ESP's contents are being changed. When we started, these are the contents of the registers, right? Now when I press F8 just once, only ESP's content is changed. So I'll do a right click on this, follow it down. Select the first 4 bytes, right click, breakpoint, hardware on access, byte. Run it, breakpoint is hit. You can check here. See, if I keep on running it, hardware breakpoint is going to be again hit. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove the hardware breakpoint, deleting it. then I know that this is something that is very high in the memory. See, compared to this 691B, 15BB is quite high, but I will consider 8 here. Right? This is the actual decryption step. So this thing has been entirely done. What I will say, I will jump back to the OUP. Now you can see the entire analysis. How do you dump it? Plugins. It's fine. Alright, so that's it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
RA Dash that is available online, yeah?
Yeah, it's also free.